time. Wanted to really bring that back. And also, we were just really wanting to get more stance changers in the game. So we saw this opportunity for a new Celtic goddess and really cool lore that fits it. So we got the bear, we got the druid, and those are going to be her 2 stances. And she's going to work more like Hel or Uller, in that her ability 4 is not an ultimate. It is change stance. And she'll change between the bear and the druid. And then she'll have 3 abilities that change depending on the stance.
So, Chuck, with this then, I mean, this is a bit of a different one for you guys, because normally you have a lot of backstory and things you have to, you know, go towards in terms of design.
When AJ says a fun thing about her is that she has no lore, that's fun for us.
Because it gives us space to play.
We have less, things boxing us in, right? So then we were like, she can transform into a bear. We wanted the bear transformation for so long.
So was the main things that you guys were looking for in her design then that like you had fun with and were able to do because you weren't like constricted?
Probably the bear.
Yeah, the actual, mainly the bear.
Well, her weapon, her armor, you know.
Yeah, there were definitely some interesting things like figuring out how to make her feel feminine, but also kind of giving her enough layers of clothing that we really kind of got the Guardian feel. And then also we didn't want her whacking people with the staff, so her in-hand is kind of an interesting way to just...
Slow your roll.
He's
there,
doing
Pong.
the both. He's doing both.
too
The
excited,
pan around both.
You know what?
Went a little early,
start
maybe.
out.
It is cool that the bear has the same like hair ornaments.
I do like the hair ornaments.
That was
the
another
druid
thing
has,
that I'm sure Chuck was going to go into, where we're really being careful about what elements were copied from her both forms, that you could see there was a connection. This is not just some random bear. This is not just some random druid. We want to have some connections there.
But you can put a kill on a bear, so you chose not to. That makes sense.
We did not choose to do that.
There were definitely some versions where the bear had some accoutrement, but it was like putting a jacket on your dog or whatever. It just
it was a great idea.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there with my dog. I don't like
so
that.
her in-hand, instead of her doing like a whack, she kind of does this magical spiral that she can zap people with.
And it's great because Guardian basics are magical, and this one really feels magical.
Absolutely.
And she's a Guardian.
She is a Guardian.
We didn't get onto that bit just yet, but I guess, Guardian. Or was that confirmed already?
Guardian, yes. I've mentioned that, yes, Guardian.
The clothing was to help convey it.
So a
Bear
Guardian
also.
and a bear. We see the autos in both the forms. Passive, AJ, I guess I'm going to come to you for this first of all. What is the passive for Artio?
Just before we get going a little bit, just to mention that those UI elements are not quite done yet. Those will be implemented soon. I've actually already seen them. They'll be in the probably in the PTS build even, and they are her icons are awesome, and her passive meter is really cool too. So her passive meter actually doesn't have a connection directly to her passive, but it's something we wanted to do on stance changers for a long time. Which, although we can't see it here, she's going to have a passive meter that conveys the cooldowns of her other stance. This is going to let you know when it's optimal for you to switch back. So instead of guessing or trying to keep track or some kind of feeling it out, you will actually be able to see, oh, my bear dash is back up off cooldown now, I can switch and use it. Which is going to be really cool. But then her actual passive, which doesn't require a meter, is a debuff that applies to all of her abilities. So anytime she hits an enemy god with an ability, she's going to apply a stacking protection debuff to them. And one of the things we learned when we first started designing this god as kind of an intro to her kit is that a stance switching guardian that has 6 abilities is just inherently going to feel really bruisery. They have so many abilities they can use all the time. They're going to be in the combat. They're going to be fighting a lot. So she has a lot of parts in her kit you'll see where we have kind of large stacking buffs that require her to stay in combat and be landing many successful abilities to really see the full potential. It's really to encourage her to stay and brawl for long periods of time.
And that debuff is, what does that exactly do?
So it's called Decompose, her passive, and is anytime she hits an enemy god with an ability, she applies a stack of percent protection reduction, both protections.
So it's not just one, it's both.
It's both, and it's percent based. So, and it stacks up to 8 times, I believe, at like 3% per stack. So it's really cool because late game, it translates really well.
Well, let's start going for the abilities then. We'll stay in human form and go through all the human abilities first before we go into bear form. I think it's probably the best way here.
Well, wait, hold on. And the idea with that, right, is that basically she's going to stay in the combat to keep fighting, but she's mostly fighting to set up everyone else to be able to do more damage.
So she's more of a damage dealer here as a guardian, more like a frontline bruise that's there to shred.
Definitely, and the fact that she doesn't have an ult means she doesn't have that like huge burst. So instead you get a lot more sustained disruption and sustained damage. She's not just gonna Bacchus flop, jump in, and do 100% in 1 second. She's much more sustained.
Okay, well, first ability then is called Energy Surge in Druid form, and Fishman, talk me through what this is going to do.
Sure, so as we were talking about, she is a classical stance switcher, so one of the things we want to do is we want to keep the targeters consistent between the two stances.
Sure.
So you can kind of use one to set up the other one and know that they're going to be in the appropriate range and kind of line it up.
Gotcha.
So her first one is a cone attack, and what she's going to do is we're playing up the like life essence theme with her, rather than like plants and vines and physical manifestations of nature. We're instead trying to do this like spiritual, like I'm pulling your life essence. So what she's going to do is she's going to hit her enemies, and then her allies that are within 55 of those enemies, which is basic attack range, are going to get heals for each enemy she hits, as well as herself. She's also going to get those heals.
So
Did you notice Pawn coincidentally setting up these rows of Odins?
Yeah, he did a very good job here. Pon, can you go to the left side and hit just the one Odin? So actually you'll see that when you hit the god, it sends out the wisps to every, including Artio and all allies, and there's there's 3 from that Odin, but when he hits both Odins, you get sets from both Odins, so everyone gets double healed in that situation. So it can scale up. So this is a team heal, but only triggerable for hitting enemy gods. You cannot use it on waves or jungles. You have to hit enemy gods.
Only gods.
And the teammates have to be in proximity to the hit.
This is our newest iteration of a true combat heal.
Okay. Now, with this as well, because somebody will damage to creeps and things like that, but just doesn't get the heal, right?
It's definitely good just for lane clear, just for dealing damage, but you won't get the heal unless you do it.
So that's the Energy Surge in Druid form and the number 1 ability. The second ability is called Entangling Vines. AJ, I'm guessing it's something to do with vines.
Yes, so we really went life force with her, but we had to have a little nature. So the vines, and one thing we really wanted to do with Guardians is bring back a cripple.
Okay.
We really, Guardians are good at lockdown, and we don't have that many with notable cripples. One of them is probably Ares, but Artio is the new premier cripple guardian. She has this persistent area she summons around her, so it moves with her.
Okay.
And that is a persistent cripple area.
And our team killed that effect, by the way.
Yeah, really cool kind of energy
Mike
vines.
Killed the whole package on this one.
Now, I know we don't want to go into the bear form quickly just yet, because I'm just asking you questions, but like if I change to the bear form, can I keep that form?
Yes, you can. Pon can go ahead and demonstrate.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is especially strong right as you engage. I even like to activate it a little before I engage and then charge into people. Really prevents them from escaping. And it's also, you can use it defensively. You can like see a Sobek dashing at you and activate it, and he'll hit it and get canceled out of it because when you dash into a cripple. So it's very much like Poseidon Circle as a persistent cripple. Very strong, but does no damage.
Okay.
This ability does not do, her 2 in either form does no damage, only her 1 and 3s.
But it also reduces that damage, correct?
It also gives a power debuff, power debuff to enemies inside.
Okay.
So more of a secondary effect, a way of her to do a little bit of soft peel. So say you have like a Baka just shredding, you can at least pop that near him, reduce his damage output. But and
then he also has to be scared as to whether or not he might suddenly need to leave and be unable to.
Right, he won't be able to leave, yes.
Okay, well, there's a little look at the Entangling Vines. The third ability is called Life Tap, so more sustained by the sounds of it, Fish.
Sure. So again, we're playing into this essence theme. Her 1 is going to heal herself and allies. Her 3, she's going to channel it. If she hits an enemy, it's going to do several things. One of those things, it's going to heal herself. You can see the wisps again traveling back to her, delivering those heals. It's also damaging the enemy. What you may not be seeing from this range is that it's also slowing them. And if she hits them for all 5 ticks of it, they wind up rooted at the end. And if you think about it, that slow and that root are going to combine very well with that cripple we just saw, making it very difficult for them to escape.
So it feels like very free roaming to be able to move and channel that all the way through. Can be silenced, I guess, out of that ability. Knocked up and stuff like that will cancel that out.
She's not immune to anything during that.
And if she lines it up, she can actually hit both Odins like one through the other. So they're not
you can hit as many enemies as you want. And this is a really cool kind of combo ability where you have to keep it on someone, kind of a tractor.
Sure.
Yep.
You have to keep it on a moving target, and they'll be swerving and juking, and you keep it on them the entire time for that bonus at the end. It's kind of a slow 2 route. And this is really her only good way to engage from range.
Okay.
So it's a good way to start a fight.
It's a slow that becomes a root if you connect the whole thing, and it heals her. No teammate heals on that?
No teammate, just her.
Okay. I was a little bit worried. I was like, because he heals for days.
It's a strong slow.
Okay.
Yes.
And does the slow just increase as it goes on?
It
does.
It's
flat?
stacking slow.
Okay.
Yeah, it stacks all the way up to the root.
All right, well, that's the third ability in Druid. I guess we should move to the bear form then.
Yeah. So we can talk about ability 4, which turns her into the bear.
Do we need to say more than it just turns into a bear? Or?
We do.
More.
Oh, there's more to it?
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
But wait. So all stance changers have the ability 4, but you have to rank it up. So we put things on that ability to encourage you to put points into it. And this is plays into, well, what I was talking about as far as her kind of general design and her passive theme. So her 4 shapeshift, when you activate it, transforms between her bear stance and druid stance. When you put ranks into it, you get a passive buff, which is a stacking buff, which is anytime she hits an ability, so similar to her passive, she needs to hit enemies with abilities. She gets movement speed and MP5.
Okay.
And this is specifically designed...
Keeps her in combat, technically.
It has 4-second duration and 8 stacks, which, as you'll notice, 8 stacks is actually a lot of uses of the ability. You can only get 1 stack of her passive per ability use.
Okay.
So what this really does is encourages her to stay in combat, to time her abilities one after another, stance switch, rotate through them, switch back. You really have to go through more than a whole rotation to fully stack it. But if you do, you're going to notice that she's going to have a really strong base movement speed, and she's going to start gaining her mana back really quickly. Really helps in the late game. And it's one thing you won't notice if you're just jumping into a fight and engaging real quick and bailing, but it's something you'll really feel when you're during long fights.
So that movement speed per stack, is that just a flat amount, or is that a percent? Or?
It's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3% per stack.
Right, that's what I was saying, because it's 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. I wasn't sure if that was percent or like actual like...
It's percent.
Raw.
Yeah, it's percent. We always do movement speed buffs in percent.
Pon here is showing us with the 3 that actually as you multi-hit with that, you're actually getting multiple stacks of that passive.
Are you right now?
Counting up. Yeah, it's maxed at 8.
Well, you're getting
No,
one.
see, he hit 2 targets with all of the 3s, and it's only 1. Now it's only 1 stack of the 4 per ability.
Yeah, he's right.
But the passive, actually, you can multi-stack. It's the passive. The decompose on enemies, you can. The life tap actually gives you 5 stacks of decompose. So it's also a pretty strong protection shred.
Okay, so she's got protection shred on a passive, and then that druid ultimate gives her movement speed and MP5 in using multiple abilities over and over again.
Successfully.
Successfully that connect. Yeah, just not spamming them. Well, that's it for the ult, I guess, and then it's on to ability 1, which is Mole Prey.
Mole Prey, that's right.
Fish.
So what we're going to do here, as we're a bear, we're going to lose this life essence tapping that we had as a druid, and instead we're going to get as a double swipe.
Okay. I mean, it's classic bear, right?
So,
exactly.
And if you pay attention to the effects of the animation, they're actually, they have a travel time, like the Chang'e sweep, and they're going to damage in that direction. There's actually an interesting trade-off, because one comes from the right and one comes from the left.
Yeah.
If you put it on one edge,
you might miss.
Well, no, you're going to hit him either way, but if you put him on one edge, there's more of a gap for the first hit and less of a gap towards the second one.
Gotcha.
But if you do it the other way, then there's more of a gap in between. So either way, but as long as they're in the cone, you'll hit them both times for double the damage.
As long as
1.5, I think, total damage.
It is double.
Is it?
It's each hit hits the same amount.
And that's just raw damage. There's nothing else to that.
This is her highest damaging ability for sure.
It hits pretty hard.
Even after a couple nerfs.
Force in the playtest for sure.
Before we go to the second ability as well, quick question. I'm expecting the answer's fine, but Shapeshift, you can get that from level 1, right? You can start with it, or do you need to actually hit level 5 to be able to transform?
No, at level 1, she will have a point in, or she will have no points in Shapeshift, but be able to transform between stances. But she will not get any bonuses from the passive effects of Shapeshift until you put 1 point in.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure of that, because it's like one of those questions that sometimes can happen where you're like, hey, actually, you've got to hit 5 before you can become a bear. So.
Which gives her a little bit of strength at level 1 because she's got the 2 abilities she can take into. So.
Yeah, she gets 2 abilities at level 1, makes her early game pretty strong.
Okay, well, Entanglement Vines was a human form for ability 2. What's Ferocious Roar? AJ, I'm guessing it's very simple.
Well, it is. And you know what she's kind of lacking right now is just some quick hard CC. So this is just a quick AoE stun.
Oh, an AoE stun.
AoE stun. Now these...
Holy moly. How long's the AoE stun for? That's a...
It is scaling up from 1... Oh, geez.
I'm looking at it. I've got it here.
1 to 1.4 seconds.
1.4, yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. It was more like, I was like, how does that go?
And it's also going to give her a self-protection buff afterwards that she can also retain if she switches stance. So she's got the self-protection buff still on her. But the roar was really meant to be a very small radius around her, and these might look a little big on screen, and especially the crippling
but in
vines.
gameplay, when everyone's running around,
it is actually pretty tough to get that. It's very tough to get multiple targets on it. For a single target, yeah, you can hit that, but hitting multiple people with it can be quite tricky. So it's a big trade-off in that it's a very small area. She really needs to get in position before she can use it effectively.
Also no damage.
Also no damage on Ferocious Roar. Correct.
Sure. This is looking great. I'm excited to go and play this right now. And then that's the second ability. There's still a third ability, which is the heavy charge in bear form.
Sure. So when we had the Druid 3, what we had was an ability to engage from distance by locking them down with a root. And this is kind of the antithesis of that approach.
And line-shaped.
Sure, line-shaped. What we're going to do here is we're going to dash into them. and we are going to do very reasonable damage, and we're also going to slow targets that we've hit.
Oh, so it doesn't do anything other than it just hits them and slows them.
Pass through.
Yep.
Pass through
Okay.
enemies, damage and slows.
Bear's got places to be. It's going to slow you
That's a
down.
good point.
You can cancel out if you want. If you want to stay in range.
I
Instead
love
of
the
your
camera
stun.
jiggle.
Camera shake.
So you can cancel that out as well. So if I go 2 into 3 in bear form, sorry, 2 into human form, into bear, into 3 in bear form,
Into 2.
Yes.
To stun
into
them.
2 to stun him.
And then wail on them with the
You're
claws.
now on
Okay,
top
yeah.
of your enemies and they're crippled and stunned.
Gotcha. So you can charge them, cripple them, then stun them, then set them up for the damage. Okay, I get the idea behind it.
Yeah,
And
she
then
has a
shrimp
really
protections.
cool like skill set flow in the order of operations you can do. Like you said, the Druid 2 into Bear 3
Yeah.
into Bear 2 is a pretty standard setup. If you're having trouble closing the gap on people, starting with Druid 3 is generally the way to do it, and you try to queue up an ally to hit off that route. And once you're already in combat, you start throwing out the ones on both stances, and she's just really fun to play. Very, very brawlery. Honestly, I think we've seen more success with her in solo lane and even jungle.
I was about to say, like, yeah, she's a guardian, but she feels like she's more of a bruiser
She's a
guardian.
competent jungler because she can heal herself and then double cone with the
And
bear maul.
having more abilities early game really affected that.
Sure.
And that's one thing we found out really early in her design is a Guardian with 6 abilities. To make it feel like fair Guardian damage, if all 6 deal damage, they would have to do insanely low damage. It feels just like feels way too weak. So that's why we immediately knew that we need to make some abilities not do damage and have much more strong utility. And that's really what is the mark of this Guardian.
Yeah.
And even we'll
set
see
up
that
there.
in Hell and Uller. They have stims and Hell has the cleanse and debuff because having 6 damaging abilities early game is just insane, and the numbers would have to be crazy low. So she's very strong early game because of that.
Although, like most stand switchers, she's a little mana thirsty.
Oh, okay.
Mana thirsty and a little bit higher skill cap just because you have so many things going on.
Sure, I can see that. I mean, the skill cap's going to be there for playing it, but also playing against it, it's going to take a while for everybody to learn out. Oh, wait a second, can I get away from this? Why can I move that? Oh, I'm rooted, oh, I'm crippled, okay.
Generally, want to keep her away from you, just like most Guardians.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I would definitely say give her a couple playthroughs because we had a lot of people
do the
who
recall.
you're gonna have 1 or 2 combos that you figure out the first game, but then the more you play, the more flexible her kill will become, and it starts to feel real good.
Okay,
The bear recall
is
is
the voice
awesome.
pack working for this today?
I believe so.
we
Pon
good?
said there was some difficulties.
Pon said he's got it sorted. Well, let's have a little listen to how Artio was sounding. Does the bear speak in bear form?
No, she sounds the same.
I was just checking,
So her
You never
abilities,
know.
she makes more bear noises, but her speaking voice, I like to think that she's kind of talking, godly through an animal. She sounds the same.
I was going for animal VGS.
You were?
in bear form.
Just all rars the whole time.
That would not surprise me.
You know, like everyone's favorite Camazot's voice pack.
Everyone.
And the Rajin gorilla.
All right, let's have a listen then.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Unleash the beast! Wonderful! All things flow through me. Attack left lane. Attack right lane. Energy is not simply created. It is transferred. And I will take yours. Everything will be alright once the pain has gone away. Question. What type of bear is best? False. Me. I won't be raiding any picnic baskets. I'm a goddess.
I like that laugh animation.
Some of those jokes were
That's good.
unbearable.
See, I tried to avoid making any jokes like that in
Like
the actual
that.
voice pack. So I know that's going to be a hotly debated topic whether or not.
She sounds very Celtic, and then she says,
The NASCAR, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, I'll talk after.
You know, we're running out of ways to say woohoo. Like, I guess she could have just said woohoo, but I'm
on the
happy
base
with the
skin, you can get away with it.
slide down.
Well, she does have her
turned out
alternate
all right.
skin
I like-
as
I
well for
like
you guys
Schleiter.
also.
Yeah.
We mixed it up a little bit for her on there.
Slancha.
And she has this kind of a little bit more just harsh realist attitude. Like, she's not going to be a coddling nature god. She doesn't just going to give you everything. She knows that you got to work for what you want, and that nature is just as much death as it is life, and you
She
just
poops
got
in
to.
the woods, so you got to be a realist.